When you think about fascists or Nazis, one cannot help to think about Adolf Hitler or Joseph Goebbels or any other high-ranked Nazi official. Looking back at history, they managed to build an empire of fear and racism while also incrementing their personal wealth and worth through stealing, lying, and shooting. There are Nazi descendants that are ashamed of their atrocious heritage. Take for example Rainer Hess. He is the grandson of Rudolf Hess, who was the Auschwitz concentration camp commander. Rainer has made his life mission about speaking against racism and intolerance and hate. Bettina Goering, she is the grandniece of Hermann Goering, who was the founder of the Gestapo secret police. She chose to be sterilized so the Goering name could not live on. Some Nazi descendants are still around. Most of them are not particularly rich, not particularly powerful or interesting, but they exist. This story is about what happens when a family doesn't want to let go of the power and wealth, nor speak about its origin, even after learning the roots of it are darker than a moonless night, and how an already wealthy industrialist steals and cheats from humanity and gets away. The Quandt that started the family's path to financial success was Emil Quandt, who was a German entrepreneur in the textile industry. Emil became a half-orphan at the age of 6 and joined the textile industry of the Drega brothers in Pressfalk in the eastern state of Brandenburg at the age of 16 in 1865. Emil worked his way up to general manager, then the factory burned down and Ludwig Drega died at the age of 30. That was when Emil finally bought it. He was able to do it when a heated economy transformed into an economic depression after the stock market crash of 1873. The fact that the cloth factory mainly produced for one customer, the state, contributed to the capacity utilization of the company during difficult times. The Pressfalk company equipped the Imperial Navy. Emil married in 1880 to Hedwig Drega, the daughter of the textile manufacturer Johann Drega. They later had 3 sons, Gunther, Werner, and Gerhard. Gunther had to manage the company because of his father's illness. He was favored by the good economic situation thanks to the miracle economy. This allowed the family to finally buy the remaining Drega textile factory, Begna, in the neighboring town of Wittstock, from Hedwig's younger brother in 1900. Gunther knew that war was good for business, and that the state will not stop buying no matter how the economy looked like. He discovered the winning formula in his 2 textile companies and he was ready to expand it to other war-related businesses. Now with an even larger family fortune, Gunther acquired the Akkumulatorenfabrik AG or AFA in English, a battery manufacturer in Hagen, which will later become Varta. This company also benefited from government orders. They also acquired a metalworking company including IWKA and stakes in BMW and Daimler-Benz. Gunther Quandt was repeatedly accused of hostile takeover attempts and aggressive share purchases. In 1921, a few years after the death of his wife, Antonie, he then married Magda Ritschl. Magda was 20 years younger than him. They later had a son in that same year, Harald Quandt. Gunther already had 2 children from his previous marriage, Herbert and Helmut, who at the time were 11 and 13 years old respectively. The marriage would last until 1929. Magda would later marry Joseph Goebbels, and Adolf Hitler would be the best man at the wedding. In 1929, Gunther would also acquire the Deutsche Waffen- und Munitionsfabriken, or German Weapons and Munitions, which produced ammunition, rifles, artillery, anti-aircraft missiles, and batteries. In the 1930s, he joined the Nazi Party. He supported them financially. He became one of the most important German arms producers. In 1937, Hitler appointed him the position of Wehrwirtschaftsführer, or leader of the armament economy, a title given to industrialists who played a leading role in the Nazi war economy. This title served him well. One of the first benefits from his relationship with the Third Reich was the appointing of the concentration camp and the accumulator factory by Hitler himself. The prisoners worked at the plant without masks and inhaled toxic lead fumes. Many of the prisoners of the concentration camps died of lead poisoning, often not lasting more than 6 months. From 1940 to 1945, the Quandt family factories were in direct cooperation with the SS, and in return they received a staff of more than 50,000 civilian laborers, prisoners of war, and concentration camp workers, in at least 3 of their factories in Hanover, Berlin, and Vienna. They even had their batteries in both the submarine war in the Atlantic and later on Hitler's miracle weapon, the B-2 rocket. These submarines in the Atlantic were a great threat. Even Winston Churchill mentioned, The only thing that really scared me during the war was the threat of submarines. Apart from the free slaves, another parallel benefit that Gunther Quandt received from the Führer was the appropriation of factories throughout Europe after these were invaded by the German army. This served him to an even bigger massive expansion. Near the end of the war, Magda's 6 children with Goebbels were poisoned by Goebbels in the Führer bunker at the Reichskanzlei, except for Handel, Gunther's son, who was being held prisoner in Poland as he was the Oberleutnant in Hitler's Luftwaffe and he was awarded the Iron Cross for his service. In 1946, Gunther Quandt was arrested because of the connection with the Nazi Party. To the surprise of many, he was only judged to be a Mitläufer, or a fellow traveler. That's someone who accepted the National Socialist ideology but did not take part in the crimes. The real reason why Quandt was never indicted as a war criminal is that the resumption of production was soon given priority over the desire to truly purge the business elite. From 1947 onwards, the Nuremberg trials of industrialists assume above all a symbolic character. In 1948, Quandt was released without any charge. In 2011, the role of the Quandt family businesses during the Second World War was better understood due to a 1,200-page study by Joachim Schottalsek, which links the Quandts directly to Nazi Germany. If that evidence existed in 1946, Gunther would have been detained, arrested, and probably stripped out of his family wealth. Gunther died in 1954, leaving his fortune to his children Herbert, son of the first marriage with Anthony, and Harald, making them very wealthy and in charge of a group of 200 companies, ranging from the original textile businesses to the pharmaceutical company Altana. The family holdings also included large stakes in the German auto industry, with 10% of Daimler-Benz and 30% of BMW. Although Herbert and Harald jointly managed the companies, Herbert focused on AFA, Varta, and the automotive investments, while Harald was in charge of IWKA, the engineering and tooling companies. In 1959, the Quandt family acquired a major shareholding stake in the Bavarian Motor Works, or BMW, which protected the company against a takeover by Daimler-Benz. Harald Quandt died on September 22, 1967 in a plane crash while flying his private plane at age 45 in the outskirts of Turin, Italy. Harald Quandt's 5 daughters inherited about 1.5 billion Deutschmark or 585 million euros. By 2022, the family's office reports that they share a company of at least $17 billion. Today, the Quandt family's wealth and success continues to grow. Stefan Quandt's net worth has ascended to $25.8 billion, making him the 56th richest man in the world according to Forbes magazine. Stefan owns 23% of BMW and his half-sister Susanne Klatten, the richest woman in Germany, owns 19% of it. The remaining Quandt family members have maintained a lower profile today, keeping outside of the public eye. In his sole interview in response to 2011 study findings, Stefan Quandt described the family's distancing from his father and grandfather as necessary, and described the family's history as a massive and painful conflict. And yet, Gunther Quandt's name remains on their headquarters. Stefan Quandt awards an annual journalism prize named after his father, said he believed his father's life work justified it. Sven Quandt said, "We must finally try to forget this. Every family has its dark secrets." The Quandt's family fortune continues to grow to this day. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.